Holy shit. MOUZ actually fucking did it. And thankfully, with new YouTube rules, I can cuss in the intros. And what a good time for that to happen, as the IEM Cologne semifinals have just concluded. Vitality have been defeated. They've been stopped. Their reign of terror ends at the hands of MOUZ, the team they've beaten 7 times in a row previously, but 8th time was the charm for Torji and the boys to get it done, and in 2-0 fashion, with ZywOo playing some of his worst Counter-Strike of the year, and Flamesy having his worst rated map on LAN ever. Oh, and Spirit beat Navi, and yeah, that was also a cool series. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff to talk about today, so let's not waste any more time. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, you show me by leaving a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel already, help me 10K subs by the end of the year. Also, once again, in the next 2 weeks, I want to hit 1,000 followers on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. Help me get there. We're now at 765 followers, so go follow me there. It's linked in the description. And lastly, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip. Nice. You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. So the first series of the day was Navi taking on Team Spirit, and this one went pretty deep. It went all 3 games, and honestly at points, I think Navi were in a great position to even win this series. I think coming out of this, I feel very positive about how Navi have done with MOUZ. And if you told me you had Navi as like the 7th or the 6th best team in the world, I don't think that's unreasonable. Just to give you some perspective, as today is ending, if you go check the VRS rankings on HLTV, they are ranked number 5, and honestly, I would put Falcons ahead of them, maybe Furia, but honestly, the teams below them, FaZe, Astralis, Tyloo, Aurora, G2, yeah, I think Navi are better than those teams. It's at least close with stuff like Astralis maybe, but better than the rest. Team Liquid, gone and buried, nowhere near in the top 10 anymore. Falcons, obviously they're going to be better once they figure out what's going on with Nico, and then Furia, I think they're close. But overall, considering where Navi were just before they brought in MOUZ, I think this is a pretty good turnaround. They've had some very exciting T-sides, like here in this series on the first map Mirage, they jumped out to a 7-1 lead, completely containing Spirit out the gate, not allowing them to generate any momentum, and there's MOUZ kind of at the front of the pack doing a lot of electric work with the rifle in his hands. MOUZ would end the first half leading the server, going 14-8 and 4-2 on openings, taking on Donk in that head-to-head very successfully. A lot of classic Navi Mirage takes were a lot of slow development into mid-control into late site splits. Once again, Navi traditionally for the last year and a half or so have been one of the biggest innovators on Mirage, and that tactical strength has never really gone away, as we've highlighted in recent videos. So now with MOUZ being that fresh injection of firepower, yeah, they're able to convert a lot more of these than they were previously. And I do think MOUZ is going to stand out as the best player on this roster not that long from now, as Bit and Nima are so game to game, and we all know what Wonderful's limits are, and he's just overall so strong. I think it's great that MOUZ managed to turn it on in the playoffs in general, even if Navi does go on to lose, because his group stage performance was so poor to start that I do think some people were kind of jumping the gun on calling him a bust. And as good as this first half was, Navi could have realistically gone a few more on the board. The first round that Spirit broke through was on the back of a very line buy, and only because Donk finally got himself into a position to get a multi-kill on the A defense. Unfortunately, a lot of this series boils down to how well Navi managed to limit Donk's exposure and keep him out of the multi-kill column, and while there were many points where Navi did a fantastic job of that, like on Nuke, more on that in just a minute, unfortunately here on Mirage, they couldn't find the right moments to take advantage of that, as Spirit did very well to take advantage of that Donk-based momentum to keep the half close at 7-5 going into their T side. Spirit won the pistol round, again off the back of a Donk multi-kill with the dualies, and managed to convert the second round thereafter before Navi could get the full guns out and actually stop Spirit's momentum, keeping the game lead at 8-7, and then adding on another round win right after, putting Spirit once again on the back foot with pretty much a terrible force buy, except for the fact there was just enough money in the bank to get Donk a hero AK. And listen, there are 4 players in Counter-Strike history that I trust with these buys: Donk, ZywOo, Simple, Nico. That's the end of the list. These players are so fucking good at the game that you can give them one gun and just a couple nades behind them and they will win you a round. Which is what Donk did, navigating a beautiful ace all the way through into the A site post plant. And dude, Obviously, we've said this every single time we talk about Spirit, but Donk is a fucking freak. His mechanical skills are just so goddamn crazy, and it's insane to me that Donk can be this good, but Spirit still be outside of a true title contending team, at least consistently, and that sucks. Anyway, Spirit did a good job of turning this Donk ace into an insane amount of momentum, and pretty much ran away with the game from here. They won 6 straight off the back of this. Navi tried gamely to win a couple rounds towards the end, but Spirit remained in firm control, winning the game 13-11, and pushing us to a second map on Nuke, where all of my positivity around Spirit has evaporated, because my god, was this maybe Chopper's worst T-side I have ever seen him call, and that's really saying a lot. Now, riddle me this, Batman. What would you do if you were the in-game leader of a team in Counter-Strike, and you had literally the best player in the world on your team? A player who is so good that we are talking about in the same terms that Broly's dad talked about him to King Vegeta. That is to say, a piece so powerful that it basically allows you to flip the table and shoot the other player. You have a piece that good, who is also fantastic on Nuke. And what would you do on the T sides? If your answer is send him outside behind the smokes every single round unflinchingly with 0 changes, despite it not working several rounds in a row as you lose 9 of the first 10 rounds, then congratulations, you might be Chopper. Now, first things first, full credit to Navi, because they had this shit scouted out. They did everything right here. If Donk was just going to go outside every round, they were perfectly content never engaging with him. And honestly, not engaging with Donk is probably the best strategy you could take when it comes to limiting him. Donk's most damaging characteristic is his ability to get multi-kills. If you prevent him from getting picks and drain the clock, it forces Spirit's hands in a way that they're not comfortable reacting to, where suddenly it's been a minute into the round and they've accomplished nothing because Donk is just seeking information. He's a heat-seeking missile. If you just don't appear on his radar, then Donk can't do best player in the world shit to you. And to be clear, the response from Spirit after 17,000 rounds of going outside and getting nothing done is to position Donk differently. It should be no surprise, Chopper and or Holly, that one of the only rounds you won on this entire fucking farce of a T-half was one of the only rounds you decided to do something different with Donk and push his ass out hut onto A. And look what happens. He gets you a multi-kill and you win the round. Shocker. And then the very next round, you go back to outside and nothing happens. This is exactly what I hate about Chopper as an endgame leader, is that he has 1 speed. He's only slightly better than Snax. And that's really saying something. And it's just this inability to move Donk to other places is so bizarre, because there are some areas where Spirit really gets this. Their Dust 2 CT side is an excellent example of Donk being in 17 different spots every other round and making it next to impossible to navigate because you don't know where this Oracle of Death, this Counter-Strike demon, is going to appear next. And that makes planning infinitely harder. So why don't they do that on their T-sides, especially on a map like Nuke? I have no fucking idea, but it's so infuriating to watch. And then top it all off, you know, you lose the pistol round in the conversion there after you fall down into a 12-2 deficit, and then you have this really kind of fun cosmetic comeback. Donk gets a cool little spray down on the outside and saving players. All right, yeah, whatever. Realistically, could they have made this comeback happen? Sure. But credit to Mikaze for, on a force buy round, having a fantastic 4K game-ending clutch. Once again proving that Mikaze is a shit-hot fucking prospect, and honestly, what an insane highlight to have in your first semifinal appearance at arguably the biggest tournament in the world on the calendar in any given time space. Just awesome to see. I think he navigated this perfectly, held in heaven long enough. He played all the angles correctly. He jiggled Donk to death on the lower bomb site, and how many people can say they've done that successfully? Not fucking many. Anyways, it sure would be a shame if on the following map on Ancient, Navi would absolutely have a terrible time containing Donk on a T-side in back-to-back games, and Spirit would just blow out Navi in the exact same fashion that Navi blew them out, making the third game significantly less interesting because Navi just have a lot less in their arsenal in terms of manufacturing a comeback compared to Spirit, who obviously have Donk. That'd be a shame if that's what happened, and unfortunately it did. This Ancient game was one note from the very beginning. Spirit won 10 rounds in a row before Navi could even get one in edgewise. And unlike Spirit, their kind of, you know, cosmetic comeback was just significantly less interesting. Anyways, Navi are out. I think they're actually pretty good. I was impressed with them at Cologne. Spirit have made the grand finals of Cologne. That's interesting. That's pretty neat. And, you know, listen, going into the MOUZ versus Vitality series, if it was Spirit versus Vitality, I would assume that that's pretty much chalked. I don't think Spirit have the depth to beat Vitality in a best of 5. I don't think anyone in the world could beat Vitality in a best of 5, to be honest with you. But a best of 3? That's a whole different set of circumstances now, isn't it? Sure would be a shame if the streak got snapped by the team that's been most defined as unable to beat Vitality, wouldn't it? Well, shit. I got some bad news, because MOUZ fucking did it! 37-0, just became 37-1. Let's talk about it. Starting big picture for a second, man, this is a hell of a series to think about, because there's a lot of things going on. You have Vitality's undefeated streak now being cracked. You have the fact that they've played MOUZ by far the most out of any other team this year. They have now faced MOUZ 8 times, and going into the series, they beat them 7 straight times, multiple grand finals in a row, denied from MOUZ by Vitality. So there's just so much baggage. And I have said in the past, and I still stand by this, that MOUZ have the worst matchup into Vitality because they play the same exact style. They just have the worst version of all the pieces that Vitality have. So how are you supposed to overcome that? Well, let's be honest. It takes Vitality to not play to their standard level, and it takes MOUZ to play the best possible game they can. There's two sides of that coin. You can equally say that Vitality did not play to the level we would expect in this series. You can also fairly say that MOUZ played some of their very best Counter-Strike as a 5-man core point-blank period when they absolutely needed it. What we can't know until we see it happen in a series is who would win if MOUZ played like they did today and Vitality played like they have when beating MOUZ in the past. Because, again, to be clear, ZywOo had his 3rd worst ever map at a LAN on Mirage. His 3rd worst in his entire career in the first game of this series. And then on Train, Flames had his overall lowest rated map of his entire career on LAN. That's 2 very important pieces. And keep in mind, ZywOo was still bad on Train too. The only player to end the series with a positive rating for Vitality was Rops. The reality is, Vitality are not going to put up that bad of a performance twice. If we replayed this series over again, it would be more than likely, almost certainly, an entirely different result. But at the end of the day, the Counter-Strike was played how it played. Vitality did not bring their A, B, or C game, and they got punished for it. MOUZ took full advantage of that, with both Torzi and Xerxin having some of their career best performances when they really needed it. Torzi ending with a 1.48 rating, and Xerxin having a 1.58 rating, 109 ADR, and going for a perfect 12-0 in opening kill attempts in this series. They were both masterful, and with some great timely impact from Spinks, Jimmy, and Brolin, they looked not just good against Vitality, they looked dominant. Again, to be clear, Rops was giving them fits on Mirage to start out. At first, it looked like Vitality might be just going back to old hat. They were up at 1.7-2 on the first half of Mirage, with Rops pulling off some of the most incredible multi-kills just of the year, damn near. Doing God's work with the FAMAS or a pistol, including an exceptional ace on a Vitality force buy. Like, I cannot describe to you guys. Like, setting aside the character, setting aside, you know, like how I present myself in these videos, because yes, I do tend to present things hyperbolically for the sake of comedy. I cannot explain to you guys how fucking angry I am that FaZe let Rops go and got nothing in return. Rops is so fucking good. Like, he is unbelievable. And the fact that there are many games where he is the 3rd best player on Vitality pisses me the fuck off. Alright? That aside, ZywOo was off to a terrible start, as we already covered. He had a terrible first half, he had a terrible game on Mirage. He ends this map going 8 for 19 with an abysmal 0.53 rating. Once again, his 3rd worst map ever at LAN. That's a tough look. ZywOo can be one of those players where if he doesn't start hot, he can't really find that momentum to build back up. And that's kind of what we saw happen here. ZywOo started slow, he stayed slow, and MOUZ took full advantage of it. First things first, MOUZ had to just correct on their T side and stem the bleeding. They managed to keep things marginally close at an 8-4 scoreline, and then held Vitality to only 1 T-side round win. That's incredible. Like, that's simply incredible. Keep in mind that throughout this entire time of Vitality's dominance, they have had at several points a 70+% T-side round win rate. They were not just the best T-side team in the world, I would argue that this Vitality core during this round of dominance has been the best T-sided team ever. Ever. At least CSGO CS2. I don't know enough about the older games to comment on that. But the CSGO CS2 era, this is the best T-side we've ever seen. They dominate from all fronts. And with ZywOo not being able to do jack shit, they couldn't find any way to get that impact outside of, again, Rops doing heroics. It felt like this CT side for MOUZ was the most optimized form of what this roster promised to be when they kicked Shuhei to the curb. And that's that we have 5 fucking shooters and exemplary communication, so there's no weak point on the map. You try and go B, there's Jimmy and Spinks. You try and go A, well, there's Torzi, Zershin, and Brolin. No matter what path you take, especially on a map like Mirage, you're running into shooters ready to walk it down. What's crazy is that there weren't even significant mistakes. There wasn't like a big highlight 4K clutch from like a Torzi or a Zershin that really swung the momentum. No, these CT side rounds were just brick by brick, taking one pick at a time, taking back space, and preventing anybody from Vitality from doing significant damage. It was damn near perfect. In the context of the series at this point, I would expect MOUZ to be able to take a map off Vitality unless they absolutely were missing in a series. So going into Train, for example, I was fully confident this would go 3 maps and we would see Overpass and Vitality would pull off another miracle. Because as I've said several times when talking about Vitality, we have never, until this point, seen them play 2 bad maps in a row. And throughout the first half of Train, I was pretty confident in that assertion maintaining how true it was. Vitality, while they struggled to get T-side impact, a lot of that I would chalk up to the fact that Train is just a hard map to navigate. If you can't get that early A main connection, if you can't get out to the A site early, a lot of the T side devolves into very slow map control or trying to take B. And if you can take B, that post plan is by no means guaranteed. It's still a CT sided map. So when MOUZ ends this first half with a 7-5 lead, I find that by no means surprising. I would consider that pretty dead average for a CT side Train. Obviously, the big worrying trend at this point is that ZywOo was still struggling and Flames was literally having a nightmare game. He goes into the end of the half with only 1 kill. He's going to end the game with only 1 kill. ZywOo still not much better, going at 4 and 10 heading into the second half. It's Rops once again backpacking this team. Rops is gonna give MOUZ nightmares even though they won, because he is just an unholy wizard when it comes to hitting headshots out of nowhere. And considering the second half had been so close and Vitality are typically stronger on the CT side on Train, I was by no means at this point a believer that MOUZ could pull this off in 2 games. I had a healthy, and I think very warranted amount of skepticism. And when Vitality won the pistol round, okay, off to a fine start for Vitality. Let's see how that second round went. There's so many emotions in this round. First off, ZywOo gets a triple kill. Listen, all eco kills, but still, if that gets the engine of ZywOo going, this entire series context changes on the drop of a hat. So ZywOo getting that triple kill put the fear of God in me as someone who wanted to see them lose here. And hey, fair enough, Zershin gets a nice 1 on Apex, who overextended through Ivy looking for intel. Now we're down to a 2v4. Spinks and Zershin just have deagles. There's no way they can win this round, right guys? I stand by that I'm not convinced Vitality made a serious or egregious error in how they navigated this situation. What are you supposed to do? There's only so many angles you can cover, and Zershin being in Ivy and pulling a perfect distraction gave Spinks just the right opening to come through team main. He isolated a 1v1 that he simply won with the deagle. And that destabilizes everything, because now the attention of the 2 side players is torn. Are they going to look at camera, or are they going to look at Spinks in A main? It was quite literally perfect coordination from MOUZ to create this opening with Zershin and Spinks. I don't think Vitality made a major blunder. They simply got outstratted by 2 players playing out of their goddamn gourd. But whatever you want to call it, this was the shot in the arm for MOUZ and the killing blow for Vitality, because with both Flamesy and ZywOo just having miserable matches, they had no momentum and no star power to keep up with the MOUZ attack. It was ruthless on all fronts. They flipped that momentum. That 1-4 spy after a pistol round in vintage Vitality fashion against Vitality into 5 straight rounds, all the way to match point, all the way to series point. They picked up those first 2 rounds afterwards and had Vitality in the back foot with the economy. I finally tweeted out. You can follow me at Twitter at LionHeartZ1337, by the way. I tweet bangers all the time. Now listen, the door to me believing is starting to crack open. It's Vitality. MOUZ can still throw this, but listen, I'm starting to see the vision just a little bit. When they hit match point, I was all in. And even then, there was just a little bit of a voice in the back of my mind was like, yeah, but like, I can see Vitality managing to push this to overtime. MOUZ can definitely throw this game. And MOUZ gave me a mini heart attack because this happens to all underdogs, right? This is a great phenomenon in sports, Counter-Strike, whatever you want to say. When you have an underdog and they know they are going to win, they stop playing as good as they were previously that got them into victory position. Because those 2 rounds they threw, and I do mean threw, were them playing fast, frantic, and like they already thought they won the series, which is very endearing, but also very scary because you don't want to give an inch to Vitality. They'll take a mile. But no, MOUZ, they managed to do it. They closed it out 13-8. They held Vitality to sub-double digits on both maps. And finally, the streak is dead. And even better, dude, we get an absolute banger grand finals. MOUZ and Spirit, the grudge match of all grudge matches. These two play each other to the gills every single time they play. And now it's a best of 5. That means we're very likely to get overpassed. That's going to be super exciting. And who knows what can happen. Both these teams can beat each other on any given day. This is going to be one of the most balanced and competitive grand finals we've had in a long time, assuming teams play to their expected level. And if you're out there and you think this is like the end for Vitality, I got bad news for you. They're still the best team in the world. They weren't going to go undefeated forever. If you want my honest opinion, them losing here might be good for them. That could be the shot in the arm that they're not, at the top of the palace anymore, that they can be tried for them to lock in and be even better, which is a scary thought. Shout out to Apex, though, for that dumb comment on the exit interview talking about how the Esports World Cup is the most important tournament coming up for them. Like, yeah, Apex, we know. We know where you're getting the money from. Don't worry. Just so exciting, man. It was just a super, super thrilling set to watch live. Watching the reactions of people celebrating the downfall of Vitality was a very special moment. And keep in mind, win or lose, this match today for MOUZ goes down in history. They are the first to topple down what I already think is at worst the second best roster to ever play Counter-Strike. That's an amazing achievement. Congratulations to Torji and the boys, and let's have a fucking great grand finals tomorrow. And I'll be here to recap it once it's done. Please you guys leave a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help me at 10k subs by the end of the year. Make sure you go follow me on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. I want to hit 1,000 followers by the time 2 weeks are up and the blast bounty is over, so help me make that happen. Thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Check top link in the description, go try on their website. Let them know I sent you their way. Thank you to SkinsMonkey. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, JesseTiv, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, BLO Games, Cody Foxworthy, JesseTiv, I'm Flashbang, Snowy White, Rowdy, Vergil'sPlasticChair, LBKcs, Snax Enjoyer, Crunchy Water, and zerotwocs. If you want to become a channel member, you can do so at the link in the description down below. For Robux, might get a video just like this, as well as a customer on the community Discord. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.